Hello and welcome back to 209 Prep Sports. Just in the studio by myself to get this thing started. Going to have Coach Frost on from Escalon to kind of go through his their prep week and their last week's game and kind of the stand, where they stand with everything now. So let's go ahead and get that started off right. How you doing today, Coach?
Oh man, what a nice day it is today. I just told you I was fixing some Christmas lights. 'Tis the season, right? December 1st. Legally allowed to put up those Christmas lights.
Yeah, unless you have some type of affinity for getting them set up, 2 months early, like some people do.
Yeah, we're not the early birds around here, but we are the people that probably leave them up till February.
Well, whatever it takes. I put my daughter went to Oregon, and so we had COVID during her senior year, so she didn't really get a whole season in. So I ended up putting green lights up in I don't know, February or March, and left them up for like 3 months. So
Nice.
Yeah, it was a little different, but it was kind of cool for her too.
Represent, man. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yes, sir. So, hey, I know you're busy, and I know you guys have got a ton of stuff going on. I'm super excited for you guys. Just to be able to have the opportunity to represent, not just the 209, but I mean small schools, and you guys do it on the regular. So why don't you give me a little bit of, how everybody's feeling about this week? How last week went. You tell the story the best anyway. So.
Well, first, I want to give the hats off to Hillmar because those guys came. They brought it. We thought we could survive Rippon's defense, and we limped off against Ripon a week earlier. But man, Hillmar was bringing it. They got a lot of pride. You're never going to put a team like that away. That's how good they are. Even if you get up 14, we never got any bigger lead than that. But I mean, earlier in the year, we were up on them. They're just going to keep crawling back at you. So Coach Frank, Coach Santos, those guys, a lot of heart. That's a real senior-led team. So a lot of those seniors, we're going to miss them in the league. They gave their all for 4 years. So just much respect to Hillmar High and to Ripon High. But for the Cougars, man, it was we celebrated Saturday night, woke up Sunday morning, and we were like, whoa. We thought possibly like that San Marin school that's out that way. We thought maybe we were heading up to Chico again. And we got this draw. It actually kind of gave us a little jolt. We joked the night before at the coaches' party that we were they were talking De La Salle was going to be out of the Open Bowl, and we were joking around, put us in, right? Escalon Matter Day, put us in, let's go. Well, it was just, just having fun, having some drinks, just hanging out with the guys. And, then the more I thought about it, I was thinking like, man, I mean, real talk, you want the biggest fish you can get. You really do. I mean, that's the pride. That's what the TVL has done. Hillmar 2-3 years ago mopped through that D6 bracket. Escalon and Ripon 2 years ago. We had some tough games, but for the most part, we took those two Division 5 crowns 2 years ago. So it's an honor to be pushed up into the 4 bracket, and we're excited to see what these guys got.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of was in a quandary. I mean, these whole playoffs, after we got eliminated and then after Cruz got eliminated, it was trying to figure out what the game I should go to was. But to be able to do this podcast properly, it's trying to take in as many games as you can. And now with NFHS Network, being able to televise games, and the playoff games are all have live broadcast too, so you're getting a lot more. It's hard to keep up when you don't have a score and all of that type of stuff.
Right.
But the scores are kept up to date, the clock. So I watched the entire game. I was able to watch your guys' game, and I was flipping back and forth. I think it was to the Central Catholic game at the time. So, and the same thing, both Friday and Saturday. So I kind of just sat in front of I put it on Apple TV, and I have it on a big screen and be able to watch the game.
Nice,
So,
man. Yeah, that NFHS is legit, man. They got, I think,
it's the real
Franks
deal.
was broadcasting, Cruz's coach was broadcasting our game. So,
well, Cruz and I we were watching the game, and and they didn't really, make reference to who was announcing. I said, "That's Franks," and he's like, "I don't think so." And then like the next word out of Franks's mouth was a saying that he says, and he goes, "That's Franks." So,
That's
but
awesome.
watching that game, I think for me, the takeaway, more than anything was, defense wins championships, and you guys are one of
Yeah,
those teams that
yeah,
we played you week one, and I think if you guys were honest about who you are, and I think, our analysis of that game is that you guys, this wasn't the best Escalon team we'd ever seen. I mean,
right.
and you didn't play the greatest defensive game that game. I mean, yeah, you saw something different from
Oh
us,
no,
but
yeah.
I,
Walking,
we told.
oh,
Go
sorry
ahead.
about that. Sorry about. I'll just say, walking off the field that night, that one of the first things we joked, we were like, man, we're gonna have to outscore some teams this year. We were
Yeah,
like, you guys were hitting those slants and a lot of those little quick passes, and we've been we're stopping the run. I mean, Escalon's been stopping the run for the last 20-25 years. We do that
yeah,
that's a daily practice thing, trap drills and double teams, working on things like that, because those kind of drills are offensive and defensive drills. So you can run those kind
sure,
of drills all day. But, when we really, especially after the Kimball game, like Coach Bean kind of told the record, we got stomped, and we got embarrassed. And it's like, it's not very often that you come into Ingle Field and embarrass somebody. And,
yeah,
especially on homecoming. So the town was here. They saw it with their own eyes. And when we walked away that weekend, it was like, what did we do? What was the magic? What works all these years before? It's turned Tuesdays into tackling drills, man. We set up tackling stations. We set up Cougar Pride. I sent you some of those YouTube videos. There's no secret to what it is. I mean, Hillmar posts a lot of their summer workouts and videos on YouTube. We watch their videos.
yeah,
There's no secret to it. It's you have to make the kids almost go harder in practice and hit harder in practice. Some of those kids hit harder on a Tuesday than they do on a Friday night.
yeah,
So when you walk out there on a Friday night, you fear nothing. It's like a pack
yeah.
of wolves. They're just ready to go.
Well, and I wasn't trying to, downplay or downgrade what you guys are doing there. It was more along the lines of I couldn't believe the growth from week one to week whatever it is, 13 now, or whatever
Right.
game week it is. And and like you said yesterday, a couple of days ago, I texted you just to ask you what drills you guys are running on the defensive side of the ball because we have to get better. I mean, that's the reality of it is if you're doing this and you're doing it the right way at any level, the idea is to get better year after year, year over year. And so for you guys to get markedly better in such a short period of time, obviously that's a testament to the coaching staff and the dedication of the kids. But I think it's more, for me, it's more a testament to the expectation when you put on an Escalon uniform. You're supposed to tackle. You're supposed to play defense. You're supposed to be tough, and whatever it took in that Kimball game to get your ass kicked a little bit or whatever it was for that to flip the switch for these kids. And maybe you didn't see that type of an offense, so it was much different. But the one thing I was going to kind of compare you guys to is, the small schools always kind of stay in the wing T-ish, veer-ish types of offenses. If you're successful, you want to run and run hard and shorten the
Right.
game, all
Especially
those
this
types of
time of
things.
year. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And Lodi, and Monterey Trail are two, and De La Salle's always done it, but those are two of the programs that have kind of adopted that mindset in the last couple of years. Lodi went to a double wing type of offense, and they gave St. Mary's fits. I mean, they gave Edison fits, or not Edison,
Right.
Lincoln fits, and
Right.
they made playoffs for the first time in a long time and go down and beat a team that throws the ball a lot, Downey, and beat them handily. So a testament to you guys and credit to your program and Coach Beam and the rest of you, Coach Cowan and the rest of you guys down there that just got to get after it and really, sell the name on the front. I mean, you guys are one of the only programs that I see around that actually put a name on the back, but I think they earn it.
Yeah. I mean, real talk. That's Coach Hoover. That's his defense. That's his baby. He spends a lot of time. We shoot a lot of text messages. Sunday, he's already cracking the film. By Monday, every damn play is on a manila sheet, and the defense is reading every manila sheet. I mean, it starts Sunday night. It really does. Him, Coach Hoover, Coach Derek Scott with the linebackers. He's a He won the national championship as a wrestler at Cal State Bakersfield. This guy's tough as nails. These are the kind of guys that came through our program. Coach Gonzalez played college ball. He works with the D line. It's just a sense of pride. They were part of it. They know how hard they have to push the practices. I kind of just go to the practices and I like to watch. I'm kind of like a spectator some of these times because these coaches are so damn good. I've told you, you ever get a bye week, man, you hit me up, hang out on a Tuesday, we'll cruise the golf cart, my brother, and it's worth checking out, man. It's every Tuesday sure. In Escalon is a clinic, and I mean, if it was an open practice to everyone, kids should be there watching this. I mean, these are the drills that you should be doing throughout the summer. And to be honest, you go back to talking about going Lodi versus Downey or some of these matchups. We played Downey 3 years ago, and we just got into that smash mouth phase where we were able to dictate the pace of the game. And that's kind of what this Friday is going to be. That Bay Area, it's a lot of passing. I'm sure these guys play 7-on-7 everywhere around the state of California. And, it's one of those things where we ourselves had to start getting into those 7-on-7 leagues, or the game was passing us by. So, I mean, our 2 touchdowns were Rosevink to Nash over the top. I mean, if they're going to line up and fill the box and load the box and they're going to go one-on-one against EJ Lewis or Nash, I mean, we're ready to take that shot. So that's kind of how we beat Hillmar was, yes, the ground and pound was there, but when they loaded the box and locked onto those receivers, it was over.
Yeah. Well, we, just watching the game, you guys kind of handled them pretty easy early, and then they kind of, come rushing back, like you said, and
can't put those guys away.
And I know they're just like you guys, and you guys kind of all, you and Rippin and them, Houston's always kind of nipping at the heels, and now you got, a Livingston that's, kind of right there. But, you guys all kind of play the same style with that chip on your shoulder. You're not gonna intimidate us type of an attitude. And I think that's showed in the success that you guys have had at Escalon, the success they've had at Hillmar, and the success they've had at Ripon. And so there's a lot to be learned, and to not be above it. But that was probably, personally, I mean, I've seen Donovan play quite a bit, Rosevink, and that was probably the best game I saw him play in quite a while. I mean, he made one bad decision that I saw, but it worked out. It wasn't a pick or anything. He just kind of turned and flung it. But to be able to throw to Owen Nash, and who's all of 6'2", 6'3", and then you got EJ who's 6'6".
Yeah.
So you guys got, some guys that can get after it. If those guys were in any other type of offense, you're talking about, Owen's going to put up numbers that are going to match pretty much anybody in the area receiving, and EJ probably would as well.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the season, as Rosevink has gone on, every week to week, we have the same talk. I mean, it's not too high, not too low. And, his nickname for me is 7. He's number 7. But, yeah, man, jokingly, just call him Iceman, dude, because all game, this guy's walking over the sideline. You can't tell if he's a sophomore or senior. He's not rattled. The place was packed. He'd been waiting for his shot, waiting for that moment his whole life. And he came out there, man, the Iceman, dude. He did it. And, dude, proud of that kid, proud of the program. The majority of those big plays, you look at it, are underclassmen, a lot of underclassmen making plays. And, we thought this year, real talk, this year was going to be a learning year. And, man, we're learning a lot right now. We're getting these extra weeks. I don't know, maybe God just loves Cougar football, but these last 2-3 weeks have been the most perfect weather, and the air's clean, and, it's just like, man, dude, I don't know. Everything is like riding a wave. I've told those kids that my whole life. I got in an accident when I was 21. I lost my leg. And then I was hitting the bottom for a while, and sometimes you got to catch that wave, and you just ride that wave. And when it's riding good, you never know what's going to happen. So we're going to ride into Friday. They saying to slay the dragon. I've seen Escalon slay some dragons. I've seen Escalon beat Madison San Diego in that D3 State Bowl. I saw, Coach Costa on our team. I saw him go up there and beat Placer one year when in the playoffs. Eddie Vanderdoes ended up NFL. You know what I'm saying? It's like Escalon's gone against some bigger teams before. I just told you about Downey a few years ago. It wasn't a playoff game, but it's all about dictating tempo. Like if
Yeah.
we can limit this team, this air raid offense to 4-5 possessions in the first half, they're probably going to score touchdowns on 2 of those possessions. So that's 14 points. So we're
Yep.
going to need to put up a touchdown and a field goal. Shit, hopefully we take the lead, but you got to get it into halftime. It has to get into halftime. You got to get to that halftime part. Give them that. It's almost like 2 pregame speeches I come up with. One's for before the game, and there's like that reserve speech for halftime for like when you go in there, you got to look in their eyes and you got to tell them, hey, man, we're halfway home and it's going to happen, and they start buying into that. It's a family, there's only X amount of people allowed through that door. And I'm very proud to be a part of that. So to go on a ride like this, to be a part of this community, it's an incredible thing.
As well, you should be. As you kind of look, when we played you guys, Logan Anderson was the primary ball carrier, and then probably like week 6 or 7, I guess, Riker Peters kind of just shows up, and I don't know if he was always there, if he was injured prior, but to have, the kid carries the ball 23 times for 145 yards against a stiff defense like Hillmar, to average 6 yards a carry, which you guys do almost, with all of your primary ball carriers. But tell me a little bit about Riker and how he's the evolution of Riker and how that's helped you guys grow.
Well, yeah, first, Logan Anderson's a junior, Riker Peters is a junior, and Matthew Baptista, he doesn't get a whole lot of talk because we moved him more to a defensive back specialist, especially after that Kimball game. All 3 of those guys, if we really wanted to, could have 1,000 yards. If you were just going for stats and playing Madden, we could have 1,000-yard back and we could have this. And I think Escalon's had maybe 1 2,000-yard back in all these years. So it's running back by committee. As the season goes, you find out certain running backs do certain things better. Miller, the sophomore kid we brought up, Jamin Miller, number 26. We brought him up to play outside linebacker. We found out this guy can lead block like a bull. You know what I'm saying? So you throw that guy in there. So you got a rotation, 5, 6 guys. JP Lyles, the senior. So he's the leader of the group, yet he doesn't even get that many touches. He gets 3, 4, 5 touches a game. He's got 400 yards. We probably got 5 running backs with 400 yards and 1 guy maybe coming up on 1,000. And it's just a team effort. I mean, if we wanted to give Miller 1,000 yards, he'd have 1,000 yards. Maybe that'll become him, but it's like whatever your role is, you accept that role. If you don't accept that role, somebody else will, and you're going to lose playing time. And the kids buy into that. And it's not about stats at this point. I mean, really, with the wing tee, it's designed to, it should have a feature back, which usually is the fullback, which usually every year Escalon fullback's got 1,000 yards. And here we are with Riker Peters coming up on 1,000 yards. Yep. So Riker Peters he was our middle linebacker. He was our hardest hitter. He's that guy where if it's just downhill and you got to meet him in the hole, you're going to eat a whole mouthful of face mask. I told Scott that the other day. Everyone's got a plan until they eat Riker Peters face mask. You know what I'm saying? Like right down their throat, So what was that, the old Mike Tyson? You got a plan until someone punches you, right? Like, and so if you want to run downhill, he's going to find you. But so he started as our middle linebacker. You saw that. You guys win a lot of pass against him, which he's never really played against the pass. So, it was difficult for him to be in position, to be under control when he comes in to tackle, because he's used to just fill the gap. So really he was our defensive dude. By him kind of becoming a key, when people start keying on him, that frees up Caden Gonzalez. It frees up these other guys to go out there. We move E.J. Lewis from middle backer to defensive end, and these guys just start thriving. When they have one job and one specific thing to do, and we hold teams to that, and we hold the players to that, if EJ's job is contained one night, he better not be going out there going for quarterback sacks. It's one of those things where you play your role, and Riker Peters has worked his way into the superstar role, like he's guy getting the 20 carries now, and he's the guy making the 10 tackles a game, and it's a beautiful thing. I love how the papers write all about Riker, because it just elevates everybody else's game. Riker
Yeah.
takes it like just as it is, and he's proud of it, but he wants a ring, and it's one of those things where we're happy that they can key on one guy, because then we got 10 other guys ready to hunt. So
Yeah. Well, and like you said, I think the offense is designed to, I mean, if you look at the season stats, our record's got 123 carries, Logan's got 100, JP Lyle's got 81, and then you're chopping up, another 100 carries amongst another 4 or 5 guys. So, outside of you guys, I mean, and Hilmar a little bit, but Argonaut was the other team that I saw, that they're getting. Nobody gets more than 5 or 6 carries, but they all have, 60 yards, so you get 5
Right.
guys with 60 yards, so 60, 80, 100 yards or whatever. But, the last thing I guess I wanted to talk to you about before, and I know you're going to be getting ready for practice and all that stuff today, but, as you guys prepare for this week, and like you said, you're going against Marin Catholic, who's, they're going to chuck it. I mean, they're going to sling it quite a bit. I mean, and so the one thing I thought was coolest about like everything I saw over the weekend was how your town sent off your boys to go, and you guys were just going to St. Mary's, so it wasn't that long of a trip, but and I'm not sure if it was down 120 or how the people.
Up Mariposa Road, the back road.
Oh.
We drive the back roads around here, guys. Yeah,
well, so do
Mariposa.
That's the one I hit on.
So yeah, the fire trucks led it, and the whole all the way down Escalon below to Mariposa. There, they had balloons, and people were out there. I saw livestock auctions right there. I seen a dude out there and then shooting guns, and it was we were ready to go, man. This town loves this stuff. When I was a kid, that's what they always told you was you want to play the first week of December, because that meant you were playing at UOP. It was always that first Saturday in December. And if you were practicing on Thanksgiving, there was a good shot you were going to get that game in December. And, I mean, I was 10 years old when it first happened, and then I'm in high school and we got to live it, and then now it's like, I feel it's almost my duty to give back to this community and let those kids live that moment the way we got to live that moment. And hopefully when my son, he's 2 years old, when he gets to that point, maybe those guys are coaching my kid and getting him to live that moment. So, it's an honor to do this. Most of it, all these guys, is a lot of volunteer work, man. We're not getting this extra, I'm sure Marin Catholic's head coach probably makes more than our whole staff, I would guess,
He doesn't get the $3,500 stipend for the year.
Yeah, right. And we got guys right now. We got Coach Largent. Oh, sorry, big truck driving by the.
No worries.
We got guys right now. Coach Largent, he's already on game 5 of the basketball season, so guys like that are working overtime. He's starting basketball practices at 5:30 in the morning just so he can be there for special teams practice after school, so people like that, people like Coach Largent, Coach Hoover, Coach Scott, Andy Bean, Coach Cowan. It's a brotherhood. All these guys played in this program. The majority of them touched that blue banner. And it's almost like we feel it's a responsibility to give that back to this community. And it's great to see a lot of those same faces. There's people that they don't catch a game all season, and next thing you know, they're back for Thanksgiving with the family, or they're back for the holidays, and you see them at that Hilmar championship, and it's all worth it,
Yep. Well, Coach, I can't tell you guys how excited I am for you. I know that you guys, it's not, you don't get this far without working your ass off, and I know you guys don't. There's no shortage of work ethic in Escalon, and you guys are, the pinnacle of high school football in Northern California. The kids, we talk about it quite often, and I'm sure we're not the only ones that do. And it's not necessarily a systematic thing. It's just it's a culture, and it's a way of life. And you see that from the town. Like I think we talked about it earlier when we walked onto your guys' field, and you look up in the stands and you only see purple and gold. You don't see red or white or any of that other stuff. It's, you see little kids running around in pajamas that are, mimicking Escalon football uniforms. So you guys have earned this opportunity. I think you're going to be in for a fight. We both know that. You text me Sunday night and said, "Holy crap!" In a different way, but we just watched film, and these guys can get after it. So
yeah, man. Their quarterback hasn't thrown a pick all year, so our first goal is to pick this guy off, and we'll put that on the board. And like I said, if we can get it into halftime, anything can happen, man. In high school football, it's about dictating it. It's about momentum. Sorry, man, there goes this truck again. So I'm in the front yard doing these Christmas lights, and all of a sudden, trucks coming by. But yeah, it's if we can not, if they don't dictate the tempo, if we limit the possessions, you know how football is, man. The ball's got to bounce your way. Things got to happen.
Sir.
Calls got to happen. And we just praying to the football gods that everybody's safe. Both teams don't want to see any injuries, don't want any of that. But we're coming to hit. And we noticed when this quarterback gets put on the ground a little bit, he's the heartbeat of the team. The whole team changes. They're shanking punts and they're missing PATs, and so it can be done. St. Mary Stockton smoked them. I seen it. It happened. So
yeah.
We believe it can be done, and we're not going out there to suit up and clap. We're going out there to play football, and I'm excited.
No moral victories anymore. So
no, man.
Good luck this weekend.
Like you said, this is for the Valley, man. This is for Linden High. We played Linden High. We win, your strength of schedule goes up. You know what I'm saying? This is for Hillmar. This is for Ripon. As much as we hate those guys as the league season goes, this is for Houston. This is for the Valley. We're going to go out there and we're going to hit him. We're going to try to hit this quarterback, not hurt him, but we're going to go out there and we're going to try to play TVO football. And I don't think anyone hits as hard as the Valley. Manteca is going to go out to Santa Clara and hit those guys a little bit, So I hope LeGrand takes the bus ride for 6 hours. God, that's got to be one hell of a ride. I hope LeGrand goes up there and puts bodies on them, because that makes all of us look better. So
LeGrand, Argonaut,
Argonaut.
Central Catholic, you guys. I mean, it's all. If you look at you guys you're all versions of each other. You guys are all super physical. You guys, have a lot of discipline, tons of structure. I mean, there's a lot to be said for the programs that win.
Support, you look at those games, how many fans. I heard a statistic, I'm not sure on this, but our Ripon Escalon game or something that they had here at Escalon 3 weeks ago was like the ticket sales were through the roof. CIF on that GoFan made a nice little pocket that night. And I'm sure I didn't hear anything about Saturday at St. Mary's, but you saw it. That place was loaded with people. So the Valley brings it. The Valley travels. We're ready to rock. I would estimate, I'm going to guess, but I bet you 1,000 Escalon people show up. They're not going to have enough bleachers for us. So
yeah, for sure. You guys travel well, and it's, this is such a a great opportunity for these kids. Something that no matter what happens, win, lose, draw, whatever, they're going to play hard. They're going to play tough. It's going to be a football game. If no matter what happens at the end of this game, Moraine Catholic's going to know they were in one with you guys. So good luck this weekend.
Represent, man.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the time, Coach Herrera. If I don't talk to you again too, man, holiday blessings, my brother. Let's have a safe and great holiday. Let's start it off with a win Friday night.
Yes, sir. You guys too. Good luck this weekend.
Later, brother.
See ya. Well, as we wrap up that interview with Coach Frost, pretty exciting times for him and the coaching staff, the players, the community, the town, the school, I don't think that there are words that can be placed on the importance, or at least the opportunity that these kids have. Probably the biggest opportunity many of them have in their whole life at this point. I mean, they're 15, 16, 17 years old, but I guess the most impressive thing I think of, in regard to Escalon and the Hillmars and the Ripons, Central Catholic, is just that continued success annually. Every year you go, you open the season and you start thinking, oh, this is the year that somebody, gets better and somebody turns around, and Livingston was proof of that this year in the TVL. They gave, and Houston 2 years ago, Houston's always kind of right there, in the mix, but those top three always seem to dominate. Central Catholic and Manteca and the VOL, and then this year Kimball steps up and plays well. East Union had a really good season. Oakdale's always right there with Central Catholic and Manteca, and then Sonora and Calaveras usually run the MLL pretty well. But Argonaut goes and wins the section title. So why don't we go ahead and start with that LeGrand game too, and how LeGrand goes and gets a chance to play for the D7 title. I think they ended up, were like the 4 or the 5 seed and end up winning this game. But go ahead and break that down for us.
Yeah, absolutely. LeGrand comes out of, I don't want to say comes out of nowhere, but this is a school that's on the furthest outskirts of the section, and they have to do a lot of traveling. I don't think you could separate these two schools geographically any more than they were with between LeGrand and Woodland Christian, but LeGrand really came to play. They end up winning this one 35-12. Real quickly, just some quick stats for LeGrand. They had at quarterback Julian Bucio. He was 9 of 17, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He carried the ball 2 times for 14 yards. Louis Aguayo carried the ball 14 times, 55 yards for 2 touchdowns. Really, the underlining story for this team offensively is that they're getting most of these kids back. This is not going to be a one and done for LeGrand. I look for them to be a potential repeat next year. Receiving, they did have senior Jeremiah Lopez. He had 4 catches, 39 yards, and a touchdown. And Reyes Diaz, he had 4 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown. He's a sophomore. He's coming back. But in the end, it was pretty much all LeGrand. Congratulations to them for winning a section championship. And like I just said, I see this team being in the hunt for it again next year as well.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those stories, I guess, for the area. It's this public-private deal that we have this conflict with and most D7 schools are smaller private schools or charters, and so LeGrand's a public school with only an enrollment of 500 or so, and I think the team that they're going up against down there is like 12 or 14 or 1500. There's a little bit of discrepancy in enrollments for the NorCal, these bowl games and things that are going on now. So good luck to them. I think it was pretty exciting for them to get the opportunity to represent the Valley and themselves. And we played them a couple of years ago. They're tough, they're scrappy, and they want to get after it. So, and I think that's the calling card for the 209. If you really think about these teams, I mean, so the section winner D7 is LeGrand. The section winner D6 is Argonaut. The section winner in D5 is Escalon. The section winner in D4 ended up being Vanden. D3 was Manteca. D2 was Central Catholic, and then you have Folsom. I think wins the D1.
That's right.
But it's the you look at these teams, and Scott was on a Zoom earlier, but so he didn't get to hear the conversation I had with Coach Frost. But and Scott's been been in the Valley and seen the TVL and the MLL play, and so that defense first, run the ball, limit possessions, take care of the ball, tackle well, and run a handful of plays cleanly is the blueprint. I mean, it's the blueprint for success. Is it the most sexy type of way to play football? Probably not, but it is definitely there's a lot of success in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. Defense and running game. If you're solid in those two areas, you're going to do well. The common denominator, I think, for these Central Valley teams, you talked about consistency year in and year out. The common denominator is coaching. I mean, you look at the coaching staffs that we have, and for example, you've got Central Catholic has had Coach Canepa has been there for how many years, and they've been winning. You look at Oakdale, they seem to win year in and year out. Manteca, they had Coach Reese there for many years, and now with kind of a changing of the guard, they didn't miss a beat But they have a very good coaching staff. Another team that we really like, Lodi High School, they put together a great coaching staff there. And so, this is all about the kids and how well they perform on the field. But having a good coaching staff, I think, would be the other kind of common denominator in these programs that do well. With that said, at the D1 level, a team that I kind of probably had some trepidation towards in terms of them winning the whole thing, and I think you did a little bit as well, was Folsom. After that St. Mary's Rockland game, Rockland just looked like they were going to just end up running the show the rest of the way out. But shame on us for kind of doubting Folsom a little bit here. They got it done. They had Tyler Tremaine. He was 18 of 32 for 186 yards. And then going back to what we had talked about previously is getting the scoring done on the ground. Tour Hendrick, he had 24 carries, 69 yards and a touchdown. And Maxley Parler had 6 carries, 42 yards and a touchdown. It really is a testament to, not only just the coaching staffs that are in place, but the coaching staffs when there is a change, because Troy Taylor, who was at the helm of Folsom for a lot of years, he's not only coaching the team, but he's also coaching his coaches. And now we see firsthand as he goes on to Sac State and the success he's having there. But yeah, this was a huge victory from Folsom. I apologize to anybody that might be from Folsom listening that I doubted you guys. Shouldn't have done that. Lesson learned. And best of luck to them going into the state game.
You can only make projections and off the information you have. I mean, and the reality of it is that Folsom had a very mediocre regular season. Now, Tremaine was out much of that season. He's obviously a huge difference maker for them. I truly think that, and I watched the Rockland St. Mary's game, and I watched this game as well. I truly think that St. Mary's is more talented than both of those teams. Rockland happened to get it done at the right time. The ball bounced the right way, kind of like Coach Frost just said, and gave Rockland the chance to play for the next week. The problem that you see, and this is what happens a lot of times, is that when you have that huge victory, the next week is often a letdown. And I personally think that Rockland had a letdown this week, and Folsom took advantage of it. Folsom is a very good football team. They're going to have their hands full this week. But at the end of the day, they were ranked. I think they got the 3 seed, even with 3 or 4 losses going out, finishing the season, and rightfully so, apparently at this point. But I think that if you put those 5 or 6 top teams, down to Edison and Lincoln and play, they all get in a league together, I'll bet you that there's not that big of a separation, week to week.
No, absolutely not. But I think the key to this is when you can hold a Rockland team to 3 points, you're going to win the game.
Yep.
I don't care what you do.
Yep.
If you can hold an offensive team that to 3 points, you're going to win. We go down the road down to the Manteca-Oakdale game, and the outcome was a lot different. There were a lot more points scored in this game. We had Oakdale traveling to Manteca. Manteca ends up winning another section championship. They win this one by a score of 35-28. A lot of points put up on the board in this game. It was pretty even. It was 21-7 Manteca at halftime, but Oakdale comes out and evens things up, or tries to get them even up in the third quarter. But eventually, it was Manteca getting it done. We talked about running game, and anytime you talk about running game in the Central Valley, you've got to talk about this kid, and people probably hear this name a lot, but Blake Nicholson really getting it done for Manteca Buffaloes. He had 29 carries, 210 yards, along a 47 with 2 touchdowns. That's against a very good Oakdale team that is usually very defensive minded, but that's an impressive feat right there alone. The quarterback for Manteca, Hudson Wyatt, he was 5 of 9, 144 yards, threw for 3 touchdowns. And on the receiving side, you had Zion Allen, 3 receptions, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Garrison Reese, 1 reception for 4 yards. That also resulted in a touchdown. But the Manteca Buffaloes winning another section championship. This is a team that we know is going to be good for a while. They've got a lot of kids coming back. They're well coached, and it's going to be fun to watch what they do next week.
So this game was kind of a tale of 2 or 3 games, really. I mean, Manteca jumps up to a big lead. I'm watching the game, and Oakdale's a double wing type team where they're gonna, they need time to run the ball and go down the field. So they're down. Oakdale's down 14 at half. Manteca scores an early touchdown on a play action to Reese, the tight end, for the 4-yard touchdown. Then it's kind of the Blake show the whole second quarter. And he's kind of running wild and doing what he does. They get out to that 21-7 lead, come in at half. Oakdale makes a huge adjustment. I don't want to say they stuff Nicholson, but he's not the Nicholson in the first and second quarter. They decide to stack the box and don't let him run on him, which, and then they kind of turn it around. So then their offense takes off a little bit and they score really quickly. I think they scored on a quick run, like a 60-yard run or something, to get within a touchdown, get another stop, get the ball back, get another touchdown. So now it's even. Now we're even at 21. I'm texting one of my buddies the whole game. I'm like, holy crap, I thought this game was over, and now look at it. And so then they trade punches a little bit in the third and fourth quarter. Well, then you go into the end of the fourth quarter, and Manteca has the ball. Oakdale has to punt. They end up punting. They punt it down inside like the 40 of Manteca. Manteca moves the ball a little bit with Nicholson, and then get a ton of pressure on Hudson Wyatt. And Hudson is the transfer. He sat the first 5 games. He kind of rolls out of the pocket, gets a ton of pressure in his face, steps up to elude the pressure, and just slings it down the field. And Zion Allen jumps up and snags it. The Oakdale defender has a difficult time tackling him, and he slides through and ends up scoring the touchdown to put that game away. Oakdale gets the ball back, and they get a chance actually to tie the game on a Hail Mary from Jackson Holt at the end of the game, who was broke up, and it was broke up by none other than Blake Nicholson, who jumps up. And so the kid has a hell of a game. He's a hell of a player. Arguably one of the best players in the area, maybe the best player in the area relative to the 209. But this game was and honestly, the last 2 weeks in high school football playoffs, the games have been ridiculously close. Almost every single game goes down to the last possession, and whoever has the ball gets a chance to win that game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you talk about Nicholson and his spot in the area in terms of being one of the top players. There's a lot of kids that we can really put into that category. Too many to name right now, but definitely deserving of anything that he receives moving forward in terms of year-end accolades. So we move on to Saturday's games. I know we already talked about the Escalon-Hillmar game. We're going to focus a little bit now on Argonaut-Rosemont. This was a tough game. It was close for most of the game. The Argonaut goes in really within reach, 17-7 at halftime, but then things get pretty close in the third quarter, and Argonaut ends up on a situation where Bo Davis takes the ball and he runs it in at the end of the game to really kind of put it away. He had a great game, as he usually does. He was 7-12, 114 yards, threw for a touchdown, had 2 picks, but that Rosemont defense is very stingy when it comes to throwing the ball. But that's not what Argonaut does well. Argonaut historically under the Davis offense has always been a run team, and they really did a good job of that, of spreading it around. Yeah, Josiah Sanders had 5 carries, 14 yards. Caleb McElfish, a kid that we've talked about a lot on this show, he had 6 carries for 40 yards. Colby Eckhart was 5 of 24. And then Bo Davis had 10 carries for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. That last one there at the end of the game really kind of putting it away. On the other side of the ball, Rosemont had Joseph Ortiz. He was 11 of 23 for 104 yards, no touchdowns. He carried the ball 2 times. Michael Cherry, a sophomore, had 20 carries for 99 yards, and Wayshawn Parker had 7 carries for 50 yards. On the receiving side of things for Argonaut, the 1 touchdown came by way of Colby Eckhart. He had 2 receptions for 21 yards and that touchdown. On the defensive side of the ball, you had, again, when you're talking about Argonaut and schools of this size, you've got kids playing on both sides of the ball. and really getting it done. Caleb McElfish had 11 tackles. Bo Davis had 14 tackles. Josiah Sanders, 7. Randy Fage had 7 tackles. Let's see here. Spigarelli had 7 tackles. Mateo Flores had 5 tackles. On the Rosemont side of things, you had Wayshawn Parker, sophomore, had 11 tackles. Adam Wanlin had 11 tackles. And so at the end, though, it was all about the Argonaut Mustangs winning their second section championship by a score of 31-20 over the Rosemont Wolverines.
It's a very good game. Again, like you said, I think it was a tale of two different types of teams. I mean, you have Argonaut running the Cox box double wing, and you have Rosemont running a offset eye, kind of a little bit. They changed their formations quite a bit throughout the game, but their line was a little bit bigger than Argonauts. Their athletes were a little bit faster than Argonauts, but Argonauts' discipline, tenacity, and the desire to make tackles was the difference in this game. And I'll tell you, I mean, and I don't care what the scoreboard says, Randy Fage came up in this game big all night long. Every time they needed a play to be made, Randy Fage made the play. And he was playing a corner, and they'd only showed him with 7 tackles. But I'll tell you, if he only had 7 tackles, he had the seven of the most important tackles of that game. I watched the entire game. McElfish had a really good game. Bo Davis had a really good game. And like you said, this is a school of 400 and change enrollment. I think the roster only goes like 25 deep. And so you're going to, you got almost all of their kids are playing both ways. They're senior heavy. So for them to be able to win a section with all of their seniors, knowing that, they're going to have to replace a lot of their talent, almost all of their skill position guys are seniors. So it's probably going to be a little bit tough sledding after this year. But to win a section title, it doesn't matter when you did it. They actually beat Linden in 2004 to win their last section title. So it doesn't matter when you do it or how you do it. It's the fact that you do it. And congratulations to Argonaut for all that they are and all that they do. They did a really good job, and they should be super proud of themselves this year for taking home the blue banner. Absolutely.
It's funny you bring that up, the last section championship that they won in 2004. This team almost looks identical to that team. I was at that game at Spanos or at UOP Stadium, and this team looks eerily familiar when you see them play, because they look just like that team of 2004. And it's no surprise that they were able to pull it off. So congratulations to the Argonaut Mustangs winning their second section championship. Moving on to the next game, I probably talked about this a little bit before, but the Central Catholic taking on Monterey Trail. Monterey Trail was a team that you and I had talked about earlier in the season. This is a team that really stacked the front of their schedule to get themselves some really good quality games early in the season, and their schedule kind of was a little bit their wins and losses early in the season were a little bit misleading
for sure.
But this really hardened them, and probably is a big reason why they ended up in the championship game. But I got to tell you, Central Catholic, they rose to the occasion, and this was a game that they came out ready to play. Final score was Central Catholic 43, Monterey Trail 22. Monterey Trail had at quarterback Frank Arcuri. He had 6 completions, 15 yards, 6 completions on 15 attempts for 76 yards. On the other side of the ball, Tyler Wentworth for Central Catholic, he was 12 of 14 for 145 yards and a touchdown. Rushing the ball for Monterey Trail, Frank Arcuri had I keep pronouncing that, 9 carries for 15 yards and a touchdown. Dalen Ellis had 4 carries, 124 yards, long of 80, resulting in a touchdown. And then Ali Collier, 19 carries for 84 yards and a touchdown. For Central Catholic, you had Julian Lopez getting it done again, 16 carries, 148 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Aiden Taylor, another name that we've discussed on this show before, he had 22 carries for 98 yards. So this kind of goes back to what you were just talking about earlier about the components of winning football games in the Central Valley. You've got to get it done on the ground. You've got to get it done defensively. And that really is kind of, what this game was about. They got the ball. Whenever they got it, they were able to run. whenever they wanted it. And Monterey Trail is really a good defensive team, but they just weren't able to shut down the run of Central Catholic.
Well, and you're talking about, again, this two complete different schools. One's a huge public school with a huge population and enrollment, and then you have a small private school, but they're kids that they're football players. I mean, they're not there to do anything else but play football. So, for Central Catholic to shut down Arcuri, so we're all on the same page. The kid he had 88 rushes for 461 yards this season and 9 touchdowns. Collier returns next year. So does Ellis. So they have some talent coming back in regard to Monterey Trail. It looks like Arcuri has a younger brother or cousin that's also a quarterback that'll probably hold it down for him next year. So they run the veer. Their quarterback is expected to run a little bit. They have good. They run with good running backs, but a big stout line. Central Catholic is built different. They're just one of those teams that they can throw the ball a little bit. You got Tyler Wentworth down there, the big lefty, that is super athletic, has a bunch of baseball offers and things like that, but he's starting to get some traction on the football field. Don't be surprised if he doesn't get some Power 5 offers. And then you have, their running backs have been really good this year. And then defensively, I think that's where, and we just talked about it a few minutes ago in regard to Escalon and Argonaut. I mean, when you win football games this late in the season, you have to play good defense, and they did. They held a tough Monterey Trail team to 20-something points. And that's a team that I think for the last 6 or 8 weeks since they went through their that murderer's row of a schedule that they had, they were averaging I think 45 or 50 points a game. So. Central Catholic did what they needed to do. Again, I think they hold the title, the record for the most section titles in our area. I think they have surpassed 20 with this last win. But I think, like you said, it's a testament to Coach Canepa and his staff. It's a testament to the community. The school to being dedicated to making sure that they have the proper facilities, making sure that they're able to compete at the highest level. Because when you go to Central Catholic or you go to St. Mary's or you go to Escalon or Ripon, you're going to play a schedule that is second to none, and Monterey Trail was a prime example of that. And you'll look at St. Mary's, year in and year out will play a very difficult schedule. In Central Catholic, everybody's starting to replicate that. They're not worried about wins and losses anymore. Going 10-0 with a strength of schedule of -22 doesn't help you. But going 1-3 or 2-2 with a strength of schedule of 35, obviously it helps you because you end up in a championship game. Not only are you not battle tested, you've also positioned yourself in a way that you can show people that you'll play with just about anybody.
Yeah, for sure. It those early tough games really forces you to elevate. It forces you to change, maybe the mentality that you had coming in from, for those kids that are coming off of a JV schedule that are coming into a varsity program. I would if I'm a coach, I would rather have their eyes opened really early in the season so that they know what they're up against, so that when they get to the end of the season, they're winning these big games. And speaking of big games, as we move on to the state outlook on the games, on Friday night, you've got Escalon and Marin Catholic. Folsom's playing De La Salle, two familiar faces of each other. Argonauts playing St. Vincent de Paul, and then Vanden is going to be playing Windsor. Escalon goes in with a 12-1, as well as Marin Catholic. They're 12-1. Folsom takes their 10-3 schedule against De La Salle, a team that you wouldn't normally see multiple losses in one season, but they're 10-2. But they played some pretty tough teams this year. Though that one loss that was on national TV, that was
St. Francis of Maryland.
Yeah, I think St. Francis of Maryland. I think the NFL commissioner is talking to them to see.
I think they also beat IMG. I think St. Francis of Maryland actually beat IMG Academy.
As long as they didn't play Bishop O'Dowd, I think they're
Bishop Sycamore.
Yeah, they're still looking for that team. They're 0-1 and they couldn't figure out how to take care of the rest of their schedule. Then Argonaut 10-3 takes their game against St. Vincent de Paul at 11-1, and then Vanden and Windsor, like we talked about, they both have 11-win seasons. And then on Saturday, December 4th, the remainder of the games in our section, you've got LeGrand at 8-5. Again, I think they're peaking at the right time. They're going to take on a very tough Fall River team that looks to complete an undefeated season. And then a very exciting Manteca Buffaloes team at 10-3 will be playing Wilcox, who is at 9-4. So some exciting games coming up this weekend. I think they're all televised on the website. Is it
NFHS Network? And so that the difference between, I think, regular season and postseason and the NFHS Network is you have announcers, you have a scoreboard that's running and a clock that's running, so it makes it more palatable to watch it online. I actually stayed home and watched all the games so I could be in a position to be able to cover these a little bit better, because the coverage is so good through the NFHS Network. The other thing I will say, so seven sections in Northern California in the Sac Joaquin section. 5 teams from the 209 won section titles this year. 5 teams from the 209 took the Blue Banner.
Yeah.
I think at preseason, only one was favored to take the Blue Banner. And I don't know if it's because this is our first full season of this show of 209 Prep Sports, and so we probably carried a lot of clout.
Yeah.
And it probably scared a lot of teams. But no, kudos to all of you out there. Thank you to everybody who's listened. We'll continue, as long as we have somebody in the 209 in the playoffs. I mean, we have these NorCal Bowls this week and State Bowls the week after. UC De La Salle playing Folsom this year. Because Sarah got the opportunity to play in the Open Bowl against Mater Dei because of the success they had in Northern California. So it's going to be an interesting week. And I think that there's a very good chance for at least 2 of these teams, if not 3 or 4 of them, to take home,
absolutely,
win the NorCal Bowl and get a chance to play for the state title. And some of these games are going to be just a battle of wills and a battle of 2 different styles of offense. We talked about it a little bit ago about how consistency in coaching and those types of things have got these teams to where they're at. And I will agree with that wholeheartedly. And I will add culture. The teams that win have this culture and almost an expectation. Like, you step on the field, whatever day it is, July 26th, or I think July 27th was opening day this year. So you step on the field July 27th. That's not your first day. That wasn't your first day in a Escalon or a Manteca or a Central Catholic or a LeGrand or an Argonaut or a Folsom or a Vanden. Right. It wasn't your first day in those uniforms. It was your first day that you were able to compete in a helmet and pads. But I promise you, these guys will finish whatever week it is. So say they get knocked out next week. Say all of them play for a state championship. They get knocked out next week. They'll go through Christmas. They'll take their break, and I guarantee you that first week of January, all of them are back in the weight room getting ready for 2022.
That's right. I think when you talk about culture, it's all those things that you said. It's culture is when you take your specific sport, and in this case, we're talking about football, but we could apply this to just about anything. But if football is going to be your given sport, and when you get to high school, you're going to know that. If that's going to be your given sport, you're not just part of a team, you're part of a lifestyle if you want to be successful. If you don't want to be successful, show up to practice, go home, and don't do anything extra. Yep. But if you want to be part of a positive culture, you want to be one of these 5 teams from our local area that raises that blue banner, and you're listening, the culture starts never ends, really. I mean, your dedication to the sport is those 6 a.m. before school weight room practices or weight room sessions. It's practice every single day. What are you doing pre-practice, and are you doing anything extra after practice? And then when you go home, are you studying the playbook? Are you watching film? What are you doing above and beyond what the normal athlete is doing? That's how culture is created. And that's the type of stuff that these successful coaches that we talk about, that's what they're preaching. I think it's no mistake that, and again, I keep going back to Lodi High School because they were so exciting this year. I don't think it's any mistake that you look at them and where they were able to come and what they were able to accomplish. A lot of that has to do with, you look at Coach Bishop. He's been there. He's done that. He came up through the ranks. He was an outstanding player at Lodi. He was an outstanding player at University of Pacific, and then played for the New York Giants in the NFL. He didn't do that on accident. And I really think that he, as a coach, is teaching that to his athletes. That's why their offensive line was so good this year. That's why they were such a gritty team. And that Lodi High School has a culture like we've never seen for a long time in that. And I'm just talking about for those guys. And that can be said about Linden High School. That can be said about Escalon High School. You got Coach Beam. He perpetuates what Coach Lorero has been teaching there for a long time. He took what Coach Lorero's done and he just kept it going. And that culture's been around for a long time. Hillmar, same thing. I mean, we could just go down the list of all the teams that are successful. It's not an accident that they were successful.
No, and I think it's one of those things that is special, you know, and it's one of those things that there's buy-in, you know, and the thing is you could preach culture, and you know, I remember a couple of years ago when we first started coaching this and trying to turn this program around, you know, we'd break a huddle and they would all say family, and I was like, enough, no more. Until you guys act like family, the only thing you guys do right now is you're dysfunctional as a family. You guys want to argue and bitch and complain. The reality of it is until you do things like, until you sacrifice your personal desires and dreams for the betterment of the team or the betterment of your brother, that you're not a family. And these teams, and we talked, you weren't here, but when I talked to Coach Frost, we played them week 1. You know, and after I walked off the field, we felt like we should have won that game. Like, we left a lot, and we did, as we did all season. And Coach Frost said, you know, the thing is that typically, you know, we bring these sophomores and juniors up and ask for them a little bit from them, but you know, a year later, then they develop. I think the thing that what all of us kind of even the playing field, and we talked about this about the spring being so even, was that the lack of preparation, you know, because of COVID, and then the lack of that season where we didn't have a full season due to COVID, allowed kind of stunted everybody's growth, probably pushed us all back a little bit. And so I think to get to the point where you need to be right now playing your best football, it could happen within a 13-game schedule or a 12-game schedule. Because like I said, and I wasn't trying to be disrespectful in any way about Escalon. I just didn't feel like that was the best Escalon team I'd ever seen. And I thought that they were more than beatable. And then I watched them play Hillmar this last Saturday, and I was almost thanking God that we weren't the ones playing them, because they're just different. I mean, and you watch Central Catholic and you watch Manteca. The Manteca-Oakdale game was one of the most physical games I've seen. Like, they both will stick their nose in there. They don't miss tackles. You know, they gang tackle. They just do a lot of things that are very, very impressive at the high school level, because they're so disciplined and they're so devout. And like you said, you know, the culture is there that, I mean, look, if you're playing middle linebacker at Escalon or Hillmar or Ripon or Central Catholic or whatever, you're expected to drill dudes. Like, you're expected to fill the gap and get it done, and nobody's going to get that. You're going to close the gap. And that way you can let other guys do what they're supposed to do. Not a lot of we played however many games. I never saw a middle linebacker that we feared. You know, even when we played Escalon, and Frost even said it, and Riker Peters was their middle linebacker at the time, but we didn't run in the middle. You know, we were passing offense. And so to see like the evolution of that team, because we saw them firsthand, and see where they've come, it's truly a testament to the coaching staff, and it's a testament to the kids. Because both without a buy-in because the coach, they got their ass handed to them on homecoming. I mean, they got annihilated by Kimball, and that's one of those games it's a season maker. So you could at that point you could be like, hey, we're done. Like, we got blown out. We're not good enough, and kids can quit. But what they said is when they went home that night, they're like, what do we got to do that gets us back to where we used to be?
That's right.
And so they just started tackling and tackling and tackling and tackling and tackling. And now look where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I just want to bring up one last thing, you know, as we're talking about this, and this really is applicable probably more so to the underclassmen, maybe a little bit to the graduating seniors. But, you know, you talked about COVID and how COVID has affected us the last couple of years. One of the situations that it is truly affecting our student athletes that want to go on to the next level is recruiting. It is just completely caused the logjam at recruiting. And the reason why that is the NCAA has allowed schools in certain sports, whether it's the winter sport, fall sport. I don't know if they've done it through all the sports now. Maybe they have. But they've allowed student athletes who were on campus while COVID hit, they've allowed them an extra year of eligibility. And so what that does, let's say you've got a UCLA, and they've got a very stacked running back core, and they are moving on to the next year, and they get commitments from their top running backs. Hey, we're coming back for that super senior year is what they're calling it now. So when they do that, the coaching staff is like, okay, well, then we don't have to recruit running backs for this year because there won't be a gap because we've already got these kids and it's causing a lot less room for incoming athletes from the high school level to move on to the next level. And so I guess the message is, you've got to do whatever it takes. If you want to play at the next level, you got to do whatever it takes to stand out. But that's not even good enough anymore because things are being taken out of your control. You've got to figure out non-traditional ways to make yourself better. Yep. You've got to figure out how to self-promote. You've got to figure out how to do the things that other people aren't doing and then do some more, because there is right now at the college level, and if we're just talking football, there are less and less spots available until we get past this COVID bubble that has caused a backup in the system. And so it's really affecting a lot. We've got, for example, in our section, this might be one of the best quarterback classes our section maybe has ever seen. Yeah. And we look and see how many of the quarterbacks in this section are committed. And I don't know the answer to that question, but in a normal year, probably a lot more than what there is now. And
I would probably say it's less than 2 or 3, and out of the top 20 passers in the area, it's less than 2 or 3 that are playing, that have offers or are planning on playing at the next level. Have scholarships to play at the next level. Here's what I will say about that. I think the 2 places that will benefit the most from this logjam are JUCO, which is also a logjam there, but the talent's talent and the best are going to play, and Division II. So I think that now that kids, like, everybody wants to play D1, and I get it. Like, if you can I'm good with that. But I'm also of the mindset that why not go play 4 years, and you're going to play, I think Division II football, the top 25% of Division II football, the top 25% of teams are going to be able to play with a lot of mid-major D1 teams.
No question.
They're going to be you're going to have quarterbacks that should be playing Power 5 that are playing at D2 just because of the logjam, and people are, and really it's so specialized now that they're so talented and there's so many opportunities. But we'll get off our soapbox now. And really, I think we'll talk. One of the things I really want to talk about once this whole season's over, and probably as we put a bow on the season, is talk about how styles perpetuate championships. So, offensively, how these wing tee type teams, how they win all the time and why. And I think we can get into the analytics of it, but also maybe the mindset of it. So we really appreciate everybody listening. We know this was a lot longer show than we have had. It's an exciting time. Like I said, 5 of 7 teams to win the Blue Banners.
Awesome. It's
just nuts. But looking forward to these games this weekend. Hopefully 5 of those teams continue to move on and represent the 209 in the way that they have. So congratulations to everybody, and looking forward to talking next week.